Have you ever noticed the secret loop that is hidden in the wedding feast at Cana by Veronese? Let's look at it together. If you pay attention to this painting from the Renaissance period, you will see that it tells us a very interesting story. It focuses on the first miracle of Jesus. But if you pay attention to the painting, you will see Jesus, who actually has just been invited to the wedding, is the guest of honor. Look at him. He sat himself in the middle of the table. That's a little rude, but it's okay. The point is that the painter wants to draw our attention to the bride and groom first. If you go back to the bottom left of the painting, you will see that the two of them are right here sitting by the end of the table. It's actually rather customary for the bride and groom to be sitting out on the side, perhaps so that they can escape more easily. Well, the thing is that during the wedding feast, according to the biblical story, they ran out of wine. And what a terrible thing not to be able to host the best party by having the best wine, right? So what happens is that there is a servant. Look right at the bottom of the painting. You have this servant right here who is coming with a jar made of stone. That jar he has gotten from the place where the Jews usually do their ablutions. And this jar, as we know, is only full of water and not wine. See how this gentleman, this servant, is actually turning his back to us and looking towards the wedding table. Now, what is interesting is that throughout the wedding table, we're going to see a lot of very well-known people. The whole point is that the painter didn't want to be paying off so many models, so he actually just got celebrities from back in the 1500s and just painted them in. And so if you pay attention, you will actually even see the King of France, the gentleman in blue, who seems to be checking out the bride if you pay attention. And next to him is Mary, Queen of Scots, touching his arm like, honey, you should really not be hitting on the bride. If you continue, you will see that all the guests are actually dressed in a very Renaissance way with silk clothing, very expensive linen. Oh, look at the end. You see that man who is actually looking to the side, his profile turned to us? Well, that's Charles Quintus, the emperor. Told you there were going to be some celebrities on that painting. And see how all of a sudden, when we get to the Jesus part, everybody changes clothes. Basically, we're jumping back in time, although the scene is being shown as taking place under the Italian Renaissance. Well, it turns out that here we're being taken back into the moment of the miracle. You have Peter. You see, Peter is pointing his finger. He's like, Mary, there is something wrong about this here. This is water they're serving. We're out of wine. This is going to ruin the party. I'm French, I can tell you. So Mary says, don't you worry, Peter. I'm on it. Look at her. See how she's holding nothing. She has her gesture like this, as if she were to hold a glass, but actually there's nothing in her hand because she wants to point out that they are missing the wine and all they're serving is now water. And that is why, if you look at Jesus now, see the halo above his head. Jesus has this look on his face. He says, Mommy, that's okay. I'm going to get it covered. Don't you worry. I'm going to perform my first ever miracle and turn the water into wine. Well, once they hear the first word, miracle, there is an echo through the table. And if you pay attention to the right side of the table this time, you will see that everybody seems shocked. They're in disarray. No one understands what's going on. Say, who is that gentleman? What has he just done? Look at this guy in blue. He's looking at the lady all the way up to the balcony. And he's asking her, did you see what happened? We barely see that lady's face. All we see is her pointing down at Jesus and saying, hey, he's the one who just did something. And now, if you go through the right table again, where you will see everybody's dressed in the fancy of the clergy from the 1500s, you will see that at the end of the very table, there is another jar. And this time, this jar is facing us. And see what is coming out of it? Wine. And better than that, it's a stone jar pouring into a golden jar, representing the ancient to the New Testament. Could it get any better? Yes, it can. Look at the gentleman who is dressed with a very fancy silk linen. Well, that gentleman right here is the painter himself, Veronese. Why not? And Veronese, he performs the role of the wedding planner. And the wedding planner is interrogating the accountant, the gentleman next to him with the red steak. He's telling him, hey, I don't recall tasting that wine ever, although I've tasted every cake and every wine for this wedding. Do you remember where it comes from? And look at the reaction of the accountant. The accountant has no idea what he's talking about. Says, well, I don't know. I don't think we paid for that wine. It's not in the records. Oh, shocking. Actually, now, if you follow back to the left side of the painting, you will see a gentleman dressed in green. And that gentleman here is the bottigliere. He is the wine provider. The wine provider is actually very upset because he tells the groom, see the gesture he has towards the groom. He tells him, wait a minute. You didn't buy enough wine from myself because you wanted to buy someone else's wine? So you served my wine and now you're topping it with a better wine. I'm going to be ridiculed. No one will want to drink my wine anymore. And that is why, if you pay attention, he's actually pointing at his purse. See on the side, he's asking for the groom to give him more money to make up for the humiliation. And if you follow his right hand, you will see that he's pointing at a servant. And that servant is just above the very first servant we had seen. And he's bringing the wine for the groom to taste. And that's when we realized that the guy in blue, François Ier, the French king, the king from the Loire Valley, was actually not really checking out the bride. What he was doing is checking out the wine. See how the jester behind him has a little magnifier and they want to check the wine quality because they have never seen this wine before. See, this is all a fantastic loop. And just because I can't leave you without telling you the actual secret of that painting, if you go back to the center, see how there are musicians. Wait a minute. The musician on the left, he looks very, very familiar, right? Is the painter again? Well, told you, you might as well, right? It's free labor. Well, the painter put himself there along with other painters and his brother. And imagine this. When the musicians were playing, they needed something for the rhythm. See, right in the middle, they do have a little instrument. You might not see it at first, but it both helps them for the rhythm, and also it helps them keep track of time because these guys are being paid by the hour. In the center of the table, what you see is an hourglass. And this hourglass tells us how much more time they have to play before they stop being paid, right? It's the final countdown, is it not? Well, draw a straight line from the hourglass and you will see that it's not just a countdown for the musicians, but also for Jesus himself. Because in the end, now that he has performed his first miracle, his clock is ticking. See how it's going from the hourglass up to Jesus. And this is where you can tell that Veronese is a genius. Because if you look just above Jesus' head, you will see that they are chopping meat. Although it seems like the feast is over, they're all done eating. But you see what they're cutting? They're cutting the sacrificial lamb. They're representing the fact that Jesus is about to be sacrificed. And then above to the skies, and how on the right side you have 3 birds representing the Holy Trinity and the fact that Jesus will be reunited with his Father. This is just one of the many secrets from this painting, but we will talk about the other ones when you come to Paris.